Have you ever really seen a situation between two people and just thought to yourself, wow, this was destined to be cancer from the beginning? So, one thing that has been turning the internet head over heels, basically, has been the online back and forth between H3H3 Studios and Ethan Klein and Steven Crowder. It recently peaked with Ethan Klein agreeing to have a debate with Steven Crowder and then bringing on Sam Seder, who's basically been pursuing Crowder for ages and Crowder's just been ignoring him. Or if you were to ask a progressive, they would tell you that the situation was that Ethan Klein brilliantly baited Crowder onto his show and then brought on Sam Seder to debate him because Steven Crowder's been ducking Sam Seder. Both sentences honestly sound like they're trying to set up for an actual fight without actually fighting. So before I actually get into the meat of the issue here, can I just propose something? And I would be fully willing to work as the promoter for this idea. Why don't we just do a YouTuber fight league? Seriously, why don't we just set up mixed martial arts bouts? If we're worried about commissions approving them, we just do them in a state like Oklahoma or something where they'll approve any fight. And we just have people battle it out. I mean, fuck it. Why not? Logan Paul versus KSI was a brilliant idea, in my opinion. Why not just have people punch each other? Because basically that comes across as what's desired here, is for people to just start punching each other. In fact, I've even asked people that have had issues with me in the past, when I've very rarely indulged this type of nonsense. It's like, do we actually want to talk or do we want to fight? Because if we can fight, let's just go fight. Let's just get it out of our systems. And then we could just go our separate ways. Or we can just admit that we can't agree on anything and then go our separate ways. Because here's my issue with the debate me bro style of things. It's basically there for an attempt on, YouTube content. To get gotchas. To get little snippets of somebody, saying something stupid, and then from there, you're able to throw it on YouTube with a clickbait title. It gets a ton of views. We watch a brand grow. I mean, it's worked for several people before. It worked for Destiny, with the whole JonTron thing. And there's other people that have said rather insane things before as well. Destiny being one of them. And, when Sargon did some videos with him, his channel grew exponentially because of the silliness of elements of that debate. When it comes right down to it, it's not really any sort of actual debating. You're not having a conversation between two people that disagree on some ideas coming together and having a conversation about it. And I think that part of that is because we live in an age where we tried to get away from the clickbait journalists. And we did that by creating our own YouTube channels to basically substitute for that. And now, let's be frank, those of us on YouTube are becoming the same thing. When it comes right down to it, it's more interesting for some people to be able to get a gotcha, get a bunch of views on a video, watch their ad revenue climb, than it is to actually have a sit-down discussion that could actually change some minds. And that, of course, is the exact state of YouTube content today, especially when it comes to politics. It's very lowbrow. Now, I'm not really speaking specifically about Sam Seder. I'm not specifically speaking about Steven Crowder. These complaints that I have could be levied towards both of them, to be honest with you, because both of them have content that I would say is lowest common denominator. Sam Seder supposedly debates a bunch of people. When I looked at his channel and I watched a few videos, what I found was him debating with crazy people who call into his show. And trust me, as somebody who has watched C-SPAN before, there's a lot of crazy people who are really into politics. So debating crazy folks who think that gay people shouldn't be on television or something along those lines, that's not a W, to be honest with you. And then on the flip side, when you've got somebody else who thinks that Mao did nothing wrong, one of the worst, genocidal murderers in history, if not the worst, that's lowest common denominator too, to be honest with you. Or somebody that thinks that, oh, I don't know, like having somebody on your show that thinks Hitler was right. You know, it's obvious that these are crazy people that you're trotting out because people aren't really interested in watching a debate. And by the way, that's not a dig at you, the viewer, either. Because, let's be frank, all of us enjoy watching car wrecks. All of us enjoy watching these things where absolute disaster happens. Because it's kind of funny. And I think that was why Internet Blood Sports was so popular. And I think that oftentimes you find a lot of smaller channels in the YouTube sphere gain popularity from that exact same scenario just because, well, that's what people like to watch. They just like to watch people destroy each other. But then again, the question comes forward. Are we really getting anything out of it? We're getting a little bit of entertainment out of it, sure. You know, I might watch a 20 or 30 minute video and see some people screaming at each other. It might make me laugh. Or I could go into my living room, play Final Fantasy VII Remake for like 8 hours, and have a lot more enjoyment out of it. You know? And not to mention, I would probably get a lot more out of playing the video game. So, when it comes right down to it, I ask myself, anytime that... And I've also participated in debates that I thought were really good. I ask myself, what are the ones that are really worth having? What are the ones that are worth discussing? I think that getting into these internet slap fights is something that's not going to make, you know, Steven Crowder look good. You know, I liked Steven when he would actually have on a guest that disagreed with him, and they would talk. That guest might say some crazy bullshit, like that one Christopher Titus guy, who thought that Steven, like, didn't care that children were being killed. Like, wow, that's okay, dude. Like, that's a hell of an accusation. But crazy shit happened. But there would be other times that Steven would have discussions that were really interesting. I will freely admit I enjoy watching some of the Change My Mind videos because some of the conversations that actually happen there are interesting and minds might actually get changed. And that's something kind of cool. And I honestly wish people would do that more often and have sit-down conversations with people that they respect or, you know, are willing to share ideas and have an exchange. Because when I think of the debates that I've probably enjoyed the most, my favorite of all time might be John Lennox and Richard Dawkins over the existence of God. I think that was probably one of the most intriguing debates I ever watched. And a lot of it was done because even though Dawkins does not have much respect for those of us who believe in God at all, he respected that John Lennox was a fellow scholar. And as such, he had a discussion with him, had a great debate with him that really was one that made you think on both sides. And that was something that, in my opinion, society could use more of. But then again, this whole situation is sort of a microcosm of political discussion today. There is no, this is your opinion, this is my opinion, and let's see which one actually works. That it's basically our morals have become our politics, and when morals become your politics, all of a sudden, it's not a disagreement on policy anymore. Instead, what it is it's a disagreement on truth. It's a disagreement on what is right, so on and so forth. And then the other person, when they don't act the way that you want them to, or they don't agree with the policies that you want, they become the devil. And nobody wants the devil to exist. That's the situation we're in right now. So, overall, my opinion of the situation is very simple. It was cancer. But I think the fact that a lot of people out there are recognizing that this stuff is cancer is a good thing. Because maybe at some point we can get over ourselves and cut the fucking tumor out. So, with all that said, my name is Micah Curtis from Micah and the Hatman. I'll see you guys later.